streets. A low rumble echoed between the buildings, growing louder with each passing second. The sound was ominous, a harbinger of what was to come. A lone car, a metallic blue Subaru WRX STI, shot out of an alleyway, its engine a roaring beast. The car moved with purpose, slicing through the night like a knife. Behind the wheel, Mark Coates, his jaw set, eyes fixed on the road ahead. Determination etched on his face, he was a man on a mission. He gripped the steering wheel, knuckles white, as if trying to merge with the machine. Every muscle in his body was tense, ready for action. Adrenaline surged through his veins, a potent cocktail of fear and exhilaration. His senses were heightened, every sound, every movement magnified. The police were on his tail, sirens wailing like banshees. The flashing lights painted the night in red and blue, a relentless pursuit. He had one shot, one chance to outrun them, to disappear into the labyrinth of the city. The streets were a maze, and he knew them like the back of his hand. His heart pounded in his chest, a drumbeat urging him forward. Each beat was a reminder of the stakes, of what he stood to lose. He pushed the Subaru harder, the engine screaming in protest. The car responded, a loyal steed in this high-stakes chase, as they raced against time and fate. Red and blue lights flashed in the rearview mirror, growing closer. The urgency in Mark's chest tightened with every passing second. Mark swore under his breath, his knuckles white as he gripped the steering wheel. The pressure was mounting, and he knew he had to stay focused. He wove through the late-night traffic, his car a silver bullet slicing through the maze. Each turn was a calculated risk, each straightaway a fleeting moment of hope. The wail of sirens grew louder, the flashing lights closer. The police were relentless, their determination matching his own. His pursuers were relentless. He took a sharp right, tires screeching in protest. The car barely held the turn, but he couldn't afford to slow down. The Subaru's all-wheel drive bit into the asphalt, catapulting him forward. The power of the engine was his only ally in this desperate escape. He could shake them, he had to. Freedom, his life, depended on it. Every second counted, every maneuver had to be perfect. The cityscape became a blur of light and shadow. The neon lights of the city streaked past, creating a surreal backdrop to his high-speed flight. He pushed the Subaru to its limits, the engine roaring its defiance. The car was an extension of his will, a machine built for this very moment. He had to stay one step ahead, outmaneuver them. The stakes were too high to falter now. His heart pounded in his chest, matching the rhythm of the roaring engine. He swerved to avoid a lumbering truck, its horn blaring a discordant symphony. The police cars followed, their headlights like the eyes of predators in the dark. This was a deadly dance, a high-speed ballet of metal and rubber. Each turn, each gear change was a calculated risk. He had to trust his instincts, his knowledge of the city, and the raw power of the car beneath him. The speedometer needle hovered near the red line. He downshifted, the engine roaring its approval. He knew these streets like the back of his hand. A shortcut, a narrow alleyway, flashed in his mind. He had to lose them. He had to disappear quickly. The industrial zone loomed ahead, a dark silhouette against the night sky. The air was thick with tension, the kind that clings to your skin and makes every hair stand on end. It was a place where secrets were buried deep, and shadows whispered tales of danger. Empty warehouses lined the deserted streets, their shadows promising anonymity. Each building stood like a silent sentinel, guarding the secrets of the night. The silence was almost deafening, broken only by the occasional rustle of a stray piece of paper caught in the wind. This was his only chance. He turned off his headlights, plunging into darkness. The car became an extension of his will, gliding silently through the night. Every turn, every movement was calculated, a dance with the shadows. The Subaru, now a phantom, raced towards the heart of the industrial wasteland. Its engine purred like a predator on the hunt, ready to strike at any moment. The night air rushed past, carrying with it the scent of oil and metal. He could feel the presence of the police, hear the echo of their sirens in the distance. They were like hounds on a scent, relentless and unyielding. The chase was on, and there was no turning back. He slowed down, his heart pounding against his ribs, his breath coming in ragged gasps. Every second felt like an eternity, the weight of the night pressing down on him. He had to stay calm, had to think clearly. Silence descended, thick and heavy. Had he lost them? The stillness was almost surreal, a stark contrast to the adrenaline-fueled moments before. He strained his ears, listening for any sign of pursuit. He waited, every nerve on high alert. Minutes stretched into an eternity. The darkness seemed to close in around him, each second a test of his resolve. He couldn't afford to make a mistake. Then, a faint flicker of light in the distance. They were still on his trail. The game was far from over, and he knew he had to stay one step ahead. The light grew brighter, a beacon of impending danger. He smiled, a grim twist of his lips. The night was far from over. This was his world, a place where only the sharpest survive. He relished the challenge, the thrill of the chase. This game of cat and mouse had just begun. The stakes were high and the night was alive with possibilities. He was ready for whatever came next.